Bleeding Edge closed beta has taken place over the weekend, and I played a decent chunk of it. There were some interesting things, some questionable stuff, and a bunch of bugs that need ironing. But was the game actually fun to play, and what can you expect when you consider giving it a try yourself once it releases? Let's talk about it all. Just a reminder, I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday on Twitch. The link to my channel is down in the description below. Go there, follow me. I talk about stuff like this all the time there. Let's get some basic info out of the way first. Bleeding Edge will release on 24th of March 2020 on Xbox One, Xbox Game Pass, the Xbox and PC One, Steam, and Windows 10. From what it seems like, the game will not be free to play. At least, I don't find any mentions of it anywhere, and the game is currently available for pre-order for $29.99, so I can only assume that's gonna be the final price tag. And right from the get-go, I must say, this seems like the biggest issue of the game. I could overlook most of the problems the game currently has, and have a much more positive look on all of it, if the game had plans to release free-to-play. It has all the prepositions for it, and it feels like a game that should be free-to-play. I think Ninja Theory will be majorly shooting themselves in the foot if they go ahead and release the game with a price tag next to it. It maybe worked for Overwatch, but you are not Blizzard, Ninja Theory. At least you don't have the marketing power they hold, it seems. By the way, the comparison to Overwatch will come up more during this video. I am mentioning Overwatch specifically for a reason, because the game, when I first saw it and throughout my playthrough, made me continuously think, it's like Overwatch, but more melee. In Bleeding Edge, you can also, on most maps at any point in a match, go back to your spawn and change your character if you're struggling with a particular matchup, and it has some other similarities. Now on with the video. What the game will feature though is crossplay and even cross-saves. For that I can only say, good job. The game at this moment offers 11 playable characters, 5 damage, 3 supports and 3 tanks. All look and feel very unique and fresh, even though they have abilities we have seen before in similar games, like Mercy's healing beam, the hook, and others. They have a nice spin to the individual characters with fleshed out lore and visuals that match the persona and abilities they have. I especially enjoyed the look of a character called Kulaf. After taking a closer look at their character model, it seems like you actually play as the snake that is wrapped about the reanimated corpse that it just uses as its vessel. Very cool. Every character has 3 main abilities, and you can choose from 2 different ultimates every time you spawn as that character. They call them supers here. This gives an interesting variety to the individual playstyles of the heroes. The ultimate you choose depends on what you favor, on the map you're on, and what objective it presents to you for that match. Though, what I would like to mention is that it would be useful to include individual options settings for the individual characters, which the game lacks at the moment. You know, how Overwatch does it. With some of the more assassins-like characters that want to get into the backline of the enemy team and disrupt it, I found it easier to use the option for targeting the enemy based on where my camera was centering on. But for the tanks, for example, I wanted to use the other option to target the enemy my character is facing at the moment, rather than where I'm looking at. And when you're playing one of the supports, it's even worse, because there is no center reticle, so you never know if your healing ability will actually hit the ally you wanted. Also, some ultimates require you to hold down left trigger to accurately select the enemy you want to target, and also click left button at the same time to trigger the ultimate. It takes some getting used to, especially for someone like me, who usually doesn't play competitive games with a controller. After some practice, it can be pulled off without too big of an issue, but it still would be nice if we had the option to change keybinds for that specific character, or even more, for that specific ultimate. The targeting system should use some improvements in and of itself, to be honest. When you get into a teamfight, it easily becomes a clusterfuck with characters getting clunked up together and maneuvering quickly all over the place with their movement abilities. And even when you finally target the right person, you can get into the trouble of the camera not being able to follow them properly, especially when you're hunched in a corner, which happens quite often actually. That usually leads to you attacking the air wildly with your weapons and getting confused on where the hell did the target go. To be honest, I feel like this whole targeting system should be scrapped, and something else should take its place. It's too clunky and awkward to use. But hey, I don't have any idea what should take its place or how to fix it right now. And I'm no game dev, so what do I know? Something I do know should be fixed though, is how the game indicates to you as a player how much health you have, or more accurately, how much of it you lack at the moment. I cannot tell you how many times I died because I was chasing down a low HP enemy as one of the assassin's heroes, and I just suddenly died from a random hit because I had no idea my health was so low and I should have dipped sooner to grab health instead. Especially some of the squishier characters can have their health disappear in a matter of seconds. Please, devs, give us a better visual and sound cues when our health is low and make them start sooner. Another feature is the mod system. At the start of the match, you get to select from a number of mod loadouts you created, and every mod enhances your character and their abilities in some way. I myself am not a big fan of features like this that should supposedly deepen the game mechanics. I feel like it brings an unknown variant into the matchups. I'm more of a fan of the Overwatch approach, where you get to know the characters, their abilities, and the timings of them. You develop this sort of game sense on when you need to look out for certain abilities and when you can engage safely on the enemy. The mod system seems to always bring this chaos part into the mix, and I'm just not a huge fan of that myself. In Bleeding Edge, you never know what mods your enemy selected for their heroes for this match, and some seem to significantly change how abilities function. Bleeding Edge also offers a pinging system, and it is weird to use. It seems like it's based on the MOBA's pinging systems, but it pretty much fails here, at least when using a controller. It is by default set to down on the D-pad, and it makes for awkward situations. It can work well when you want to ping the enemy in your sights or something directly in front of you, but even that can sometimes not work properly. And you also need to move your other hand to press the D-pad while you're moving with the joystick. And if you want to tell your team to focus the objective that is at the other end of the map, then you need to adjust your camera to be looking straight at the objective and then ping it. And mind you, the objective doesn't appear on your screen, so you need to look on your actual minimap, and from the shape of the arrow that is your character, figure out if you're pointing in the right direction and then ping it. You can also hold down the ping button to bring up a contextual menu with more options on what to ping, but that makes for an awkward moment also. You usually need to stop, because you cannot use the same thumb on moving the character and holding down D-pad, unless you are some sort of a mutant with extra fingers, I guess? And then select one of the 4 options available. But the one you would mostly want to use,
I need healing,
is missing. You can only say, "Help me," which can mean many things, like that you're being attacked by somebody, and it doesn't really serve its purpose, which is to find a way to communicate clearly with your team without having to use the voice chat. But maybe the weird controls are just a me problem, because I don't usually play competitive games with a controller. There is an option to switch the movement and camera control sticks, and the awkwardness of the pinging system is probably the big reason this option exists in the first place. It just seems like an inept fix to the issue. Also, now is probably a good time to mention that when you play with a controller, as the game advises you to do, some of the key keybinds are not even bind by default. Pretty important keys, at least to some, like push to talk. Now, for some personal issues and recommendations for the game, I'm not a big fan of the objectives the game offers at this moment. There are 2, collection and delivery of power cells, and capture the point. The points of objectives in games like these, in my opinion, should be that they give you a reason why you fight the enemy, why you get to clash against each other, why you get into teamfights. But the objectives presented here, especially the power cells one, make you actively dodge the enemy team to collect the resources, because they provide a much better benefit towards winning the game than actually fighting and killing the enemy. And even once you finish the collection part of the objective, you still want to try your best to dodge the enemy team, because there is a chance you will die fighting them and basically deliver the winning points to them on a silver plate. So the actual thing you're supposed to be doing in a match is making you not do the fun part of multiplayer games. which is to engage with the other players. A similar thing goes to the capture the point objective, where you also usually want to dodge the enemy and steal their captured points because it gives you so much more points you need in order to win in the long run. It just all seems so backwards. You can look again at Overwatch. I feel like at this point everyone is gonna think I'm some sort of an Overwatch shill. I'm really not. I enjoyed the game when it released, but it has some big issues that the devs did not address in time and other stuff. I don't even play the game anymore at all. But back to the point. Overwatch is also objective based. And even though I at first didn't really like the King of the Hill maps they added soon after release, it does what it's supposed to. It makes you engage with the enemy players. And the same goes for the payload maps. But maybe that's just the experience I got from the beta, where the vast majority of players seem to have no idea on what they were supposed to be doing. So when the game will release and the meta will form, it might not be an issue then. I also had some issues with how enormous and how much elements there were in the UI while in matches. I would like to increase the field of view though. And also there's a lot of clutter on my screen. Like, look at just that. Look at all the stuff that is on top of here. That's like half of my screen almost. I know it's not, but it seems like it. It's taken up most of the stuff I should be able to see. Because this game is third person and the character model you play usually takes up a lot of your screen, it makes it difficult to see what's in front of you with the big top UI part. I would change it and move the top bar to the bottom or just change it up altogether. One more thing I want to add, and again this might just be personal preference, I like it when I look at abilities, I get proper descriptions of what they do, how long does it take for them to start, how long do they last for, and so on. I just like numbers and proper descriptions and stuff like this. I want to know these things so I can work them in and develop game sense faster. I don't like when games give you vague descriptions of what a certain ability does, and you need to test it yourself, sometimes on multiple occasions, to figure out the timings and all its intricacies. What I really enjoyed on the other hand was the ability for environmental kills. A lot of the characters have combos on their basic attacks that can make the enemy flinch backwards or straight up fly backwards, and it can make for some insanely funny out of bounds and environmental kill moments.
I must get closer.
Well, if she's out of range, why do you... Holy shit! What the hell, you can do that? It is incredibly satisfying when you pull it off, and it will never get old. The last thing I should probably mention in this video is the bugs that I encountered. It was a beta after all. I feel like most of these will get fixed, so I don't want to spend a long time on them, but I should at least mention them. The biggest bug of the bunch I encountered multiple times was the targeting system not working. And I don't just mean I wasn't able to hold down left trigger to target an enemy, I mean the entirety of the targeting system. The game could not target any enemy close to me, not even the power cells canisters to destroy them. It basically rendered my character useless, and the only way I found out how to fix it was to just exit out of the match. There was also no music in the match whatsoever, and it made it very jarring.
You heal me, I'll heal you later.
Where's music? There's no music, it's really weird. I can only assume this is an actual bug and not an intended thing by the developers. This seems like a game that should have music in the matches. It's especially saddening because the game has very good music in the menus, and I wanted to hear more of it. I instead had to go ahead and play my own music in the background of my stream, because it was just so weird to have complete silence throughout the most part of the matches. The last big bug I encountered was the no train sounds bug. Basically, there is a map that has trains driving by in the middle of the map every once in a while. The gates open, one train comes from one side of the map and the other one comes from the other side. Touching the front of the train as it's passing by is insta-death. It shows up on the minimap and it's pretty easy to notice when the trains are about to come once you experience it a bit. The problem is, when you're in the middle of a fight or just looking the other way then the train is coming, there is no sound cue to let you know that it is in fact coming. It only makes a sound right as it's about to hit you, or when it drives by.
Don't let him take C.
Go.
Trust don't
How
work,
can you
mate.
tell
I got you.
that a train is coming? It doesn't give you any indication.
I am.
It's like right there and then you die. That's all that happens. Again, I think this is a bug. It should be a bug and it should be fixed or changed, but I cannot know for sure. Maybe the devs wanted it to be sneaky so people could bait others into it, but it mostly just makes for very cheap self-tests. Apart from these few bugs, I've only noticed some tutorial parts were voiced and some were not, but that will probably come in the full release. They probably just didn't have time to put it in and flesh it out for the beta. And there were some server lag, but that will hopefully be also fixed in the full release. I gotta say, pretty good job on the bug front, Ninja Theory. You did pretty well with this. Overall, my experience with the game was positive, even though I spent the majority of the time in this video complaining about the game's issues. I enjoyed the gameplay, characters and their abilities, and fighting the enemy was a decent fun when you got around to actually do it. The problem was I had to specifically ditch the main objective I was supposed to be doing, which wasn't really fun in the first place, to do that, and that severely crippled my team's chance of winning almost every time. And that just shouldn't be the case in my opinion. I also fear the game won't find a big audience at launch due to it not being free to play, and the numbers will only dwindle from there, which makes me sad. I will probably render a Ninja Theory to reconsider and make the game free to play, but will it not be too late at that point? Who knows? We'll see when the game launches, I guess. Maybe the game will actually release free to play and I will just make a big fool of myself with this video. Let me know in the comments below what you enjoyed about the game, if you played it or watched it on Twitch or YouTube. And of course, if I missed anything or mentioned something that is not true in this video, tell me that also. Thank you very much for watching, hit the like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And again, come check out my Twitch channel.